Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Throughout the annals of history, stories of indigenous resilience, adaptation, and survival have often been told through a narrow lens. Yet, hidden within the folds of American history lies a narrative that intertwines the ancient presence of the Narragansett people with a profound and often overlooked chapter, the existence and legacy of the black-skinned Narragansett. Their story is not merely a tale of survival, but one of cultural fusion, defiance against erasure, and an enduring testament to the complex fabric of America's indigenous and African histories. Long before European ships carved white trails across the Atlantic, the Narragansett people thrived along the coastal regions of what is now Rhode Island. Their society was rich with tradition, guided by a deep spiritual connection to the land and a governance structure that emphasized balance and harmony. The forests, rivers, and shores bore witness to generations of Narragansett life, their stories woven into the land like threads in a grand tapestry. Yet, as with many indigenous nations, the arrival of European colonizers heralded an era of upheaval, disruption, and devastating transformation. Amid the clash of civilizations, a unique cultural narrative began to unfold, one that saw the merging of African and indigenous bloodlines. The transatlantic slave trade, a brutal and dehumanizing enterprise, brought countless Africans to the shores of the Americas. While much attention is given to the plantations of the South, the northern colonies also bore witness to the enslavement and forced migration of African peoples. It was in this crucible of oppression and resistance that African individuals and indigenous communities found common cause. Shared experiences of dispossession, violence, and marginalization created bonds that transcended ethnic divides. The Narragansett people, known for their resilience and adaptability, were among the indigenous groups who forged alliances with African escapees and freed individuals. In the dense forests and secluded villages, Africans found sanctuary among the Narragansett, and over time relationships deepened, leading to familial and cultural blending. The emergence of black-skinned Narragansett individuals was a natural evolution of these interactions, a blending of two resilient peoples facing common adversities. This blending was not solely a matter of survival, but also of cultural enrichment. African traditions of music, storytelling, and spirituality interwove with Narragansett customs, creating a unique cultural mosaic. Oral histories speak of songs that carried both African rhythms and indigenous chants, of ceremonies that honored ancestors from both continents, and of languages that began to borrow from one another, forming dialects rich with shared meaning. This fusion fostered a community that stood resilient against the pressures of colonial encroachment. However, the colonial world was unkind to those who defied its rigid classifications. In a society obsessed with racial purity and hierarchical structures, the existence of black-skinned indigenous people challenged the very foundations of colonial identity. Laws were crafted to categorize, divide, and suppress, pitting African-descended individuals against indigenous communities. Yet, the Narragansett people, with their evolving identity, defied these imposed boundaries. They resisted both the physical encroachment of settlers and the ideological chains of racial classification. The 17th and 18th centuries saw relentless efforts by colonial authorities to dismantle indigenous autonomy. Land dispossession, forced assimilation, and violent suppression were common tools wielded against the Narragansett and other tribes. The intermingled African and indigenous families faced compounded discrimination, with colonial powers seeking to erase their identities through legal mechanisms and social ostracism. Yet the Narragansett endured, preserving their language, customs, and stories through generations. In the face of adversity, the Narragansett people's resilience manifested in various forms. Some sought refuge in isolated enclaves, maintaining their traditions away from colonial scrutiny. Others engaged in subtle forms of resistance, passing down oral histories, practicing spiritual ceremonies in secret, and teaching the next generation about their dual heritage. This persistence ensured that the legacy of the black-skinned Narragansett would not be lost to the erasure of colonial narratives. The 19th century introduced new challenges with the rise of racial science and the codification of racial categories in legal systems. Pseudoscientific theories sought to classify humans based on physical characteristics, further marginalizing mixed heritage communities. The Narragansett, with their diverse lineage, found themselves at the intersection of these oppressive ideologies. Yet they continued to assert their identity, fighting for recognition and the right to exist as they were, a people shaped by both African and indigenous ancestries. By the early 20th century, efforts to reclaim and assert indigenous identities gained momentum. The Narragansett people, despite centuries of marginalization, began to organize politically and socially to preserve their heritage. The black-skinned members of the community played a crucial role in these movements, advocating for the acknowledgement of their unique history. They challenged both external prejudices and internal divisions, emphasizing that their identity was not a dilution but a testament to survival and adaptation. Modern narratives of the Narragansett people increasingly recognize the complexity of their heritage. Scholars, activists, and community members have worked tirelessly to uncover and share the stories of the black-skinned Narragansett, shedding light on a history long overshadowed by simplistic racial categorizations. This reclamation of history is not merely academic. It is a reclamation of dignity, identity, and belonging. Today, the legacy of the black-skinned Narragansett stands as a powerful reminder of the intersections of struggle and resilience. Their story challenges monolithic portrayals of indigenous and African histories, revealing a richer, more intricate tapestry of human experience. It invites us to reconsider how we understand identity, belonging, and history itself. As we delve deeper into this narrative, it becomes evident that the story of the black-skinned Narragansett is not just a regional or cultural curiosity. It is a fundamental part of the broader American story. It speaks to the ways communities adapt, resist, and thrive despite systemic efforts to divide and erase them. Their journey from the early days of colonial contact to the present day is a testament to the enduring human spirit and the power of cultural fusion. In understanding the black-skinned Narragansett people, we gain more than historical knowledge. We gain insight into the resilience of marginalized communities, the complexity of identity, and the unyielding quest for self-determination. Their story urges us to listen more deeply, to look beyond surface narratives, and to honor the intertwined legacies that shape our world today. The black-skinned Narragansett people are not relics of a distant past. They are living, breathing descendants of a rich heritage, carrying forward the traditions, struggles, and triumphs of their ancestors. Their existence challenges us to broaden our understanding of history and to celebrate the diverse roots from which our shared humanity grows. In their story, we find not just a chronicle of survival, but a beacon of cultural endurance, illuminating the path toward a more inclusive and truthful understanding of our collective past.